you've got a Mark 1 MX5 or Miata, and you've got a Firefly set of skirts. Now this obviously applies to the full kit. If you get a full kit, you get your set of skirts, or if you're just getting a set of skirts. There's a few little things to worry about. Mostly the MX5s or Miatas basically rust hugely around these arches. Everyone knows that. Same applies to the front a little bit. If the arches here rust and swell out, the skirt's going to be effectively shorter than it should be. These are moulded to fit a perfect MX5, but we have allowed a little bit of flex in the design to accommodate the fact that we know these are rusty, we know these are often in poor condition. This car isn't actually terrible, as you can see. It's clearly not perfect, but this car's getting kitted, so here's a few things that I think will help when it comes to fitting the side skirts. So there's essentially a few mounting options. You can have them mounted what we call flush with no fittings visible on the outside, or you can do what is increasingly more popular, which is to have them for like a quick release style with a couple of fittings here and then the same at the front onto the wing, so that you can remove them to get a jack under the car, something like that. So I'll throw it on and I'll point out what's important in terms of things lining up, and then I'll point out where we fit it, and I'll point out the two different options for fitting using this. Right, skirt I've literally just placed on the car. It's been squeezed on. This is designed to line up with this. The rear of the door opening lines up with this contour on the skirt. Same applies to the front wing. And you can see how this lines up. If I was fitting this and I didn't want any fixings visible on the outside, I would trial fit, make any little sanding changes here along the edge. 80 grit is great for the edge here. Anything on the face, you really don't want to use anything coarser than a 240 grit. If you want to install these properly and flush, you're not going to be able to remove them at the side of the track or anything like that, but it is a really neat way of doing it. We would put some polyurethane adhesive behind here, stick flex or tiger seal in the UK, basically windscreen sealant, a blob here, push it into place, and then you can actually run some masking tape on the inside of the arch through here to pull that nice and tight, and you can run a little clamp here if you need to. This actually just, there's nothing holding this on, it's just sitting in place. And then the same along the bottom of the door reveal, or just on the underside of the skirt as it runs in. Same applies here, one here, one here. If you're having it removable, you can do the same sort of thing. Riv nuts are great. There are other things that are like riv nuts, which is essentially a rivet with a threaded hole, so you can run a bolt through here. You can take the bolts out and it comes away. And then the other thing we recommend, we don't actually put anything in the side, we leave it for clearance, but you can actually put a couple of screws in the side if you want it even more secure. Riv nut here, like I said, if you want it to be able to remove it at the side of the track, and then the same thing applies to just inside the door here. This is what the skirt looks like as it runs inside the car. As you can see, it clears the door. However, depending on the car, if you've had a lot of welding done here, or you're running, or it's the door's dropped, or the door's not quite hanging correctly, you might find that the door actually catches the skirt as you open it. Irrespective, I would recommend pinning this down with 2 or 3 little screws into the sill, and it just keeps it rigid, stops it from moving, and they can also be removed if you're having a quick release style system on it here. The other thing to check is just make sure that the door clears the skirt around this gap, and you want a gap under the door all the way along, and you want to make sure it lines up nice. Any issues, get in touch.